The title of this session is Senior Executives Discuss LINE's Product Management. Hello everyone. I'm Minoru Yokomichi today as MC. As a project manager and an agile coach, I support project teams. I'd like to ask two panelists to introduce themselves. First, Ayumi Inagaki. Thank you. I'm Ayumi Inagaki. I'm a Senior Executive Officer at LINE Planning Center. I'm leading LINE platform as well as financial platform planning. Thank you. Thank you. Next, Mr. Shimamura. Thank you. I'm Takeshi Shimamura. I'm now Senior Executive Officer at Portal and Media Business at LINE. I'm leading media and content services including LINE News. And I joined here in 2004, long before LINE was created, so some call me Living Dictionary. Thank you. Thank you. So, before we start discussion, allow me to introduce the topic. One of the roles in LINE is called Product Manager. The role is for planning. And at LINE, we have been trying to define what is requested in product management in this age. Two panelists here, Shimamura-san and Inagaki-san, as well as executives and PMs, had discussion about it. After brainstorming, we ended up selecting these 5 abilities we think important. So let me explain in order. The first one is very clear, hard skill requested in product management. Second is ability to commit results. You need secure commitment, including product delivery. Third element selected is the ability to arrange diverse environment. Arrangement here means not about working as a messenger, but more like a conductor, so that the manager behaves to maximize the results of people with you. Fourth is high point of view. Keep the viewpoint high and wide. The fifth is ability to explore everything. I'd like to dive in later in this discussion, but before that, let me explain the scope of product management. Of course, there can be others. Although very rare, product management refers to just about creating a solution and just ship it. But this is not true. First, create a vision and consider why, when, what we do and where is the destination. To solve this issue, define the problem required to be solved and how can we learn this from users and market. Then define solution and release it to the market for growth. In this slide, 5 abilities I talked about is mapped to each area. Each ability is important in all the areas, but you see some differences in the ability to be required for each. Vision creation is high point of view and explore everything, or in the area of delivery, hard skills and commit to results are very important. So much for the introduction, and let me dive into these 5 skills. So, Ayumi-san, I know these 5 are very important, but can you pick up one ability that you think specifically important? I feel explore everything is the most important, or rather it's a start of everything, in my opinion. Why do you think so? In this explore everything, we had 2 elements in discussion. First is about the power to learn new things in the society and think about why, and in that we had a profound discussion about that. Another is about yourself. What is your motivation? What do you seek for? So both inward and outward power. I think having both power to explore is very important in project management. That is why. Did you personally attach importance on the two types of power in your project management, inward and outward, both of them? Yes. First, understand yourself. Based on this understanding, like, why do you do this? Why do you want to do this? These will lead to the power to create stories and vision. Explain why you think these are challenges. So I think I've been paying attention to explore both of these. And also, in your daily life in the society, ability to find answers to the question you came across in the society with interest is also important. In my impression, in the case of product management as well as working in the organizations to face some issues, you quickly catch something new, and from that, you find a new area for you and drill it down. Well, have you been like this for long? Yes, I don't know how I was when I was born, but I think I've been intentionally doing like that for a long time. When I am interested or feel curious on something, for example, now I have a strong interest in communication in the company as well as organizational structure. So how and what do I want to do with that? What is good for me and everyone? As I learn, I want to learn more and more tasks to do. So yes, you are right. Do you think your power to explore, do you think is it innate or acquired? You give me a difficult question. Let's see. Because I'm wondering, such curiosity can be acquired or not. Sometimes I think about such a thing. Well, I wish this is an acquired capability, I wish, if I say. When you explore something and the result of it becomes tangible, that experience makes a cycle to amplitude the action, giving you confidence. In a word, acquired will be the answer. You guess this might be right, and you just try it. At an elementary school, you make up an assumption that this would work, and you just try it by yourself. And this made everyone happy, and it was fun for me as well. Such experience enhanced the power to try something again, and enhance the cycle, and lead to the confidence that I have ability to explore. I think that was the process for me. But first of all, you just tried, right? Yeah, that's right. So some can take this first step, and some or many cannot. So this can be a theme for consideration. Yes, in project management, you are often overwhelmed by a lot of tasks. Exploration should be essential, but leave it out. This is important, but priority is low. So do you know why you can always try exploring even when you are very busy? How do you feel? I think it's about commitment, right? Commit to results in a company, maybe. I think you are saying that this commit to results is also something fundamental. When we are discussing this point, I was interested in that when you mentioned you don't like the term sense of ownership. Do you remember? You said when you use the term sense of ownership, that reveals you don't have ownership. So it's a strange word, Zen dialogue.
So I actually felt awkward about this because this is what I own and this is a given. It's my thing. So having that kind of confidence is important. It is close to the continuation of the experiences we mentioned earlier. Since I was a child, I also felt that everything was my thing. So I had the sense of the ownership in many cases. As I talked, I felt that way. What I experienced will just accumulate, and being in that state, it's important to have a sense to understand that. Shimamura-san, the ability to explore based on what Ayumi-san said. Well, for me, its high point of view among those five. Of course, ability to explore is very important. But there are some differences in interpretation. For me, the keep questioning why is close to high point of view. People are working. Why are there so many people in Shibuya? I think these are the themes for exploring. But in order to do that, you have to look at the things from the comprehensive view or higher view. The job like PM is not just you alone attaining something. Rather, you have to engage other people and engage societies and market. In that case, you have to be able to project that how individuals are behaving and acting. For example, that person is feeling and doing this. So if I do this and that, then he would do this or move in this way. And the very basis is ability to explore. You have to try on a daily basis and then try something, but you may not get it right. So as an image, if you only explore, you might just end up being a geologist. You can go as far as you want. And the PM requires something different in terms of the ability or quality. So once you explore, how to capture or understand is important. For example, if you stop exploring, then that requires a high point of view. And if there are two types of the exploration, then which to choose requires a high point of view, which determines the ultimate actions. This high point of view, how can it go up? Well, I understand what you mean. I think that we should keep questioning why. Well, this is also whether it's the inherent or acquired. In my case, it's just the inherent or inborn. So I wasn't the type of the child to play with everyone in the crowd. I wondered why other children do that when the teacher invites them. So I was rather observing others. And I have a habit of wondering why. And I'm different from Ayumi-san. So in my impression, Ayumi-san is a type of person who takes actions. And also, you are probably the similar type. But I tend to step back a little and think whether I should do it or not. So I analyze. And inside myself, if I think that there is the conviction to go, then nobody can stop me. If not, I don't show much interest. That's the difference. But I'm not saying which one is good or bad. It's just a difference in type. When we discussed in advance, I think you two are complementary. Yes. I thought maybe. Well, I tend to do it anyway, just like the executive workshop. Rather than wondering why should I do it or not, I should do it, or it means something to start taking actions or running. Yes. Well, first, I tend to think about why. Why do I have to know that? I know that. And it's cumbersome, and I wonder, what does that mean to do this? Well, I'm starting with a question, but it doesn't mean that I don't do it. I'm just thinking why, because I don't get it. Those become the tips to realize, or if I am convinced there are issues, then my intention changes suddenly. But in the beginning, I tend to question why. So, for example, the mechanism happening here is probably like this, and I try to forecast and try to address the issues and challenge. Well, Shimamura-san, you don't validate or analyze with data. You said that you observe and confirm the situation and understanding in yourself, right? Well, it is data, but it's not just the numerical data. For example, the PM's job is like this. You can't really decide whether it's right or wrong, whether it's better or close to the best case. Is something we try to understand, because there are environmental or situational restrictions, and we have our ideal situation. So perhaps we try to pursue the best middle ground instead of the clearly deciding A or B. So talking to everyone a lot and looking at everyone's facial expression, how convinced they are, and when it's released to customers, what happens. So looking at everything comprehensively, maybe we come up with the good proposal. In other words, products that generate the sales aren't always good, or the products that don't generate the sales are not always bad. So it should be only accepted by the users. So qualitatively, there are things that give deep satisfaction, but not immediately result in numbers. Sometimes it's better to pursue them. So whether I can believe it or not is very important. So I was going to talk about it, whether I can believe in that or not. PM figure required or thought by line should be described first. PM is expected to be a leader. So project management and a timely execution without the material issues. Well, of course, those are all important, but those are not the priority to describe capable PM. So being a leader is important. So what it means to be a leader. For example, I understand what the company wanted to do, so I did it. So in that case, I don't think this is a leader. And in the customer survey, 100 people said that this is what they want, and I create this. So this is not leader, because it's not leading it, because the customer led it and the CEO said this and that. Then that means the CEO led it. So if you are a leader, you have to lead. And then you have to think about how you felt. That's very important. So everyone else is nodding and convinced, and let's do this and that. But I'm not convinced, and I'm not very clear about this. Having that feeling is important, and confronting that is important, and to think about why I'm not convinced, although everyone else says it's good and I don't feel comfortable. Maybe we can do something else. That feeling is very important.
Last week, that reminds me, last week when we were discussing, you said do as I like is important. We were excited saying that's very important. Yes, as I like. Right, because it means I do it because I think I should do it. And one more thing important. Do as I like is not everything. Every other people also understands that and follows you. He says something different, and he seems to have different opinions from others, but there is some truth in it. Maybe what he is saying is the next goal, so I'll support you. Many people want to support that person. So with his idea, he gathers supporters, trying to achieve what he said. He started saying that, so he faces with it. This is commit to results, actually. So you will not accept it until you are convinced. I think this is about a point of view for me. Different viewpoints will change whether you accept it or not. For example, try being ecological. Of course, you can be satisfied just starting whatever you can do in your daily life, and it is nothing bad about it. You can stop using plastic bags in shopping. That's one viewpoint. But when you have high point of view, this is not satisfactory. Maybe you want to more specific target to reduce carbon dioxide. When you have high point of view, scale of commitment and direction will be changed. That will change scale of your behavior and the number of people you involve. In that sense, level of viewpoint will be more and more important as the size of the project gets bigger. Right. When we had a similar discussion, maybe with Yokomichi-san, I was told that you are at a dead end when you ask a question. Who can make a decision about this? You are not a PM anymore when you say that. You said, do you remember? You are the one to decide it, or rather, it is a role of PM to take actions to lead to a decision. In order to make a decision, you need to think about how you overcome issues. Asking who can decide this? Well, asking the question like who can decide this means you've given up. You know what I mean? Yes. I think this often happens in the office. Who's going to decide this? When I hear this question, oh, I feel, oh, that's what I didn't want to hear. Well, this may depend on the level of PM. Yesterday I was watching a program on TV. It was about a Japanese person in Peru who was allowed to reserve Machu Picchu only for that person. The person went to enjoy sightseeing there before pandemic, but the area was locked down because of COVID-19. He no longer had a way to go home. Rather than spending expensive fare, he chose to stay there waiting for a chance. I think he's a boxing instructor, so there he got many qualifications and contributed to the area, and he is loved by local people. And a news reporter wrote an article about that person, and the story became very popular. And the person was allowed to visit Machu Picchu for that person only. It was a case that the behavior made a change. Usually, such a thing can never happen logically. Well, best action is going home with a chartered plane, but that's how all the people think. But the person thought that this is a valuable experience and decided to stay that. The decision might not be a good decision because you never know what happens, but the person made a decision and everything started to happen. He developed relations with people there, and this triggered many changes that you would not expect. In the end, visiting Machu Picchu, his project was achieved in more ideal way. The story sounds irrelevant, but the mindset is the same. You know, you are asked to do one project, and you can think of many reasons you cannot do it. Who are the members? Do you know development resources? Does this make a profit? And are you really going to do it? It's going to be cumbersome if you start doing it like that. You receive many of such comments, but still, there is something that we should do because other people cannot do this, or purely from your idea, you declare you're going to do it. And you start. That's why you never escape from it. That's why you try to achieve it. Planning for someone or trying to do something to receive a commitment from others, then at this point, that's not what you want to do anymore. You are not a product manager. In this case, I think it's more like a role in charge of features or something like that. Having heard from you, PM is close to entrepreneur in my impression. Whether PM or entrepreneur is fitting the product or not. So it is sometimes difficult to handle the product or domain you have no interest with. Since Line is a big company, there can be a PM who does job just for compensation. And Shimamura-san is now in charge of portals and search. Are you able to commit so much because you have an interest in the product or domain, or are you started to having strong commitment as you do business? Which is your case? Absolutely the latter case. I didn't have any motivation at all. Well, rather, I had no plan to work in internet industry. You wanted to be a musician. That's right. So I was thinking, why am I here? But so what changed you to have commitment in you? That's what I wanted to say. I make a decision, but it does not mean I do whatever I want to. Well, probably I can love whatever product it is. And if I think this is the right way, as she picked up the term ownership, there are things that you don't have to do actually. There may be others who can do better than you, but having heard from other people, I started to think that I should do this. It's good for me to try. Okay, I will take it. People are hesitant to take it, so I will. And the moment I decide I will try, a shift occurs in me. I start studying and investigating a lot, listen stories from many people, and gradually I start to think that something is strange, or maybe it's better to have something like that. So as experience such actions, the actions are further enhanced. At the beginning, the task was not what I wanted to do. Maybe this is the biggest difference from entrepreneur. And probably entrepreneurs are also not doing only what they want to do. I think product management is the same as child rearing. It is true. You have more time in struggling with child rearing than the moment of joy. You need to ask support from others, and the future is not visible. You never know what is right to select. I never know what my child wants to do because my baby doesn't speak. When I say I'm talking about you, what do you want? I don't know, like that. We are faced with such situations or face with it. I don't let it go. And comparing several options, this and that, then this would be better. As we discuss in such a way, you find a way out or find some hints or find someone offering support to you, encounter a nice place. And in this way, you gradually go forward. So you love the idea, but while you are doing tasks with commitment, you will experience many negative incidents, or at the beginning, maybe you didn't have much passion, but as you start doing this, you might see wonderful person you enjoy working with, like it's fun to create this with you. Not only the product, but also the human relationship in the process of making it, as well as environment, those can be enjoyable.
So I don't mind that which one to start with. I start with denying, while Ayumi-san start with taking actions. Whichever is fine. So while you're confronting, you will be able to see the nature. So if you ask, whose job is this, then you're not facing it. And if you think this is a husband's job, then you're not really facing it. That's the key point. Ayumi-san, committing to the product, does that come later, or do you have the vision from the beginning? I think it comes later. It's not too late, but I had many friends who became the entrepreneurs when I was in school, and they asked me, "Are you not starting a business? Why are you starting to work for a company?" And becoming the entrepreneurs and working for a company like PM don't seem so different. It's just the methodological differences to me. Well, if you become an entrepreneur, then you may not be able to focus on what you wanted to do because there are a lot of miscellaneous works that you have to deal with. Actually, I talked at the PM conference the other day about the book called The Leadership Journey. And as Shimamura-san mentioned earlier, the person who visited and saw the remains. Well, if you really, really hope to do certain things, the space will help you. That's the story. Well, I'm sure that we all have that kind of experience. So if you believe in something and if you want to do something, then you will encounter some people to help you. And many people start to support you, right? Yes. So that is the sense of having ownership, or myself committing to that. So I've been thinking about this for a while. And to become that state, well, it's like the having oxytocin, just like a child rearing. If you keep thinking about certain thing very hard, and if you are seriously confronting something, then you start to generate the love hormone. So the power is generated. So I'm often called a mother of lion. And at first, I didn't have that kind of sense. And my child is now 2 years old. And if people tell me lion is like your child, then I can understand. But when I was doing that, I didn't have a child, so I didn't know. So it just gets amplified. The difficulty of the PM is that the moment that your efforts will be rewarded doesn't just come as expected. Sometimes you never get return from everything you do. If you expect a reward or return for everything, you can't really be saved just by believing that. So even if you don't get any reward, you do it anyway, even if it doesn't go successful, but you thought that it is important to you do it, then do it. But in case of the businesses, sometimes you have to quit, or in some cases that you couldn't be successful and the project needed to be dissolved. The important point is that that's not the end. The current form needs to be changed, but you thought that this is important at that time, and that will be reflected into the next actions. While you do that, then that comes back in circle unexpectedly. So just like a search business, actually this is a third time. Well, if you just live normal life, you're not really thinking about the current effort will result in the third time attempt, but you try to do things with your full power each moment, but every time you won't be so successful. So that's why I'm saying that the high point of view is important. And if you think about the give and take or gain and loss, you can't have the certain viewpoint. For example, things may not go well immediately, or you may need to change the careers. But if you look at things from the higher point of view, it might be useful down the road. That viewpoint may be important. Otherwise, it just breaks and becomes difficult. Well, you used to be the musician. How did you end up here, Shimamura-san? I am doing well in this job, and I was unsuccessful as a musician, have a strong correlation. I had self-image. I wanted to be like this, and I wanted to do this kind of the music, and this was a self-want, my own want. But the people in the society are not expecting me to do that. So no matter how much I try, I couldn't get out of my own box because that was my own self-image, and that was who I wanted to do. And at the same time, I was actually doing the part-time work on the internet. I wasn't serious about this part-time work, and I was talking to many people, and I was able to attain what was impossible before, and I learned to mutually help, and the talking to other people can broaden our views and do what's expected. And I felt those differences very much. So doing the band is like entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs and PMs are different. Well, it did sound different. In my mind, it's completely other way around or opposite. So band means the artist. Because the self-realization only exists within self. But PM has nothing to do with self. They have the scope or target. And it's important that service is loved, and having the support from everyone is important, and becoming who other people want you to become is important, and trying to do best within that. I see. Well, 2.5 hours has passed very quickly. We only talked about the 2 topics. We've run out of time. So once you start to talk, then the time passes very fast. So lastly, I want to ask both of you. You're both PM. Then, well, of course, that you are a senior executive officers. But as you pursue the PM careers, what challenges are you willing to take? That's very broad and unexpected. Well, I was going to ask you to give messages to the junior members at first. So rather than the one specific service, I'm thinking about what I can do as a company, thinking as a company, as a product. Next WOW needs to be created, but we haven't found any seeds for that yet. So I want to make a breakthrough to that. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, then in a very short time, thank you very much. And we needed more time to show your charm more. And Shimamura-san said that he can't really summarize in 40 minutes. So this is the end of the session. Thank you very much.